The wedding album lies open on Aunt Maxine's coffee table, a glossy monument to betrayal. I stand frozen, my fingers tingling with numbness as I stare at my brother Nolan beaming beside his new wife. The same brother whose wedding I'm supposed to attend tomorrow. "Elise, honey, I thought you knew." Aunt Maxine's voice wavers behind me, thick with something worse than pity guilt. The carefully wrapped crystal frame slips from my hands. The shattering glass echoes through the living room like a physical manifestation of what's happening inside me. Shards scatter across the hardwood floor, catching light from the afternoon sun streaming through the bay windows. That's not possible. My voice sounds strange, distant. I have the invitation right here. I fumble with my purse, extracting the thick cream envelope with my name in elegant calligraphy. Look, June 15th, tomorrow. Aunt Maxine takes the invitation with trembling hands, her reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. "Oh, Elise." Her voice breaks. "The wedding was last weekend. They sent you the wrong date. On purpose." The room tilts slightly. I'd taken a day off from my executive marketing position to prepare. Spent weeks searching for the perfect gift, the right dress, practicing what I'd say to family members who barely acknowledge my existence. How can they be so cruel? "Your mother." Aunt Maxine hesitates, then squares her shoulders. "They decided it would be easier if you weren't there." The memory of receiving that envelope floods back standing at my mailbox, sunlight catching the gold embossing as I ran my fingers over my name, the flutter of hope in my chest. Maybe this invitation meant healing. Maybe they finally wanted me there. I remember the family dinner 2 months ago when Nolan announced the engagement, the way his eyes swept the room, connecting with everyone except me. Still, I'd smiled, offered congratulations, pretended not to notice. That weekend I'd driven to 3 different stores hunting for the perfect dress, something elegant but not showy, something that said I belonged among them. The saleswoman had commented on my glowing smile as I stood before the mirror, heart light with hope. I kneel now, carefully gathering shards of broken crystal. When Aunt Maxine moves to help, I shake my head. "Let me." My hands tremble, but my voice has found its steadiness. They've always treated me like I was invisible. Now they've made it official. For once, I don't search for explanations to soften what they've done. Don't create excuses for their cruelty. Something shifts inside me, a tectonic plate finally breaking free after years of pressure. I stand taller, meeting Aunt Maxine's tearful gaze. "I fought with your mother about this," Aunt Maxine says, wringing her hands. "I told her it was wrong, cruel even, but she overruled me, said you'd just bring up uncomfortable topics, ask embarrassing questions." I almost laugh. Uncomfortable topics like the thousands of dollars I've quietly funneled to keep the family lake cottage from foreclosure through my holding company. Embarrassing questions like why my brother's business failures are always forgiven while my successes are dismissed. I've spent years trying to earn my place in this family. I wrap the broken pieces in the gift paper, the festive pattern now seeming like another mockery. I thought if I achieved enough, helped enough, they'd finally see me. Aunt Maxine reaches for my hand, her papery skin cool against mine. "Some people can't see what's right in front of them, Elise. Not won't, can't." The quiet realization settles over me. No achievement would ever be enough. No sacrifice would make them truly see me. I've been trying to earn what should have been freely given, and in doing so, I've allowed them to determine my worth. I look at the album again, at all those smiling faces celebrating without me. My absence was so complete they didn't even need to edit me out. They'd made their choice long before this wedding. Perhaps it was time I made mine. And I will. I will show my family who I am. I will not be invisible anymore. The next day, the steering wheel feels slick under my palms as I pull into my parents' circular driveway. Their Tudor-style home stands proud against the afternoon sky, its manicured hedges and gleaming windows betraying nothing of the betrayal within. I kill the engine but remain seated, watching through the bay window as they lounge in the living room, surrounded by wedding photos. My mother's laugh floats through the partially open window, the same delicate, tinkling sound I'd spent decades trying to earn. My father leans back in his leather recliner, looking more relaxed than I've seen him in years. And Nolan, my golden child brother, stands by the mantel holding up a large wedding portrait, his voice carrying clearly across the lawn. Best decision we made was making sure she wasn't there to ruin everything like always. A wave of nausea rises as I grip the door frame, knuckles white against the polished wood. They continue laughing, flipping through album pages, completely oblivious to my presence. 3 minutes pass before my mother finally notices me standing in the entryway. Her champagne glass disappears behind a silver-framed photo with practiced subtlety. Elise. Not a question, not a greeting, just acknowledgement of an unexpected intrusion. The wedding was last weekend. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. You sent me the wrong date, on purpose. Nolan doesn't even look up from the album. I needed one perfect day without you. The simplicity of his statement hits harder than any angry defense could have. No denial, no pretense. You've always disrupted our peace, Elise. Mother adjusts her pearl necklace, a nervous habit from childhood. Can't you understand we needed one special occasion without your intensity? Father remains silent in his recliner, eyes downcast, studying his hands as if they hold secrets only he can decipher. His silence speaks volumes, tacit approval wrapped in cowardice. I step further into the room, noting how they occupy the comfortable seating while I stand. The physical representation of our family dynamic couldn't be clearer if it had been staged by a theatrical director. I've put thousands of dollars into the lake cottage repairs through my holding company. The statement hangs in the air between us. Did you think I wouldn't find out you've been telling everyone it's still completely yours? Mother waves her hand dismissively. That's what successful children do, they help their parents. It's your obligation. Playing with your little marketing spreadsheets while the rest of us have real careers. Nolan smirks, tossing the album onto the coffee table with careless entitlement. Dad built something tangible. I create architectural visions. What do you make besides money? Their words crystallize a truth I've spent years avoiding. To them, I am not a daughter or sister, but a resource, an ATM with inconvenient emotions they'd rather not acknowledge. I catch my reflection in the ornate mirror above the fireplace. The woman staring back seems diminished somehow, shoulders slightly curved inward, head tilted in a perpetual posture of apology. How long has this stranger been living in my skin? This woman trained to make herself smaller at every family gathering, to speak softer at every holiday dinner. Let me explain something you seem to have forgotten. I open my purse, retrieving a slim folder I'd grabbed from my home office on the drive over. I have documentation of every dollar spent on that cottage, every repair made, every tax bill paid. Mother's eyes narrow, the first flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. And most importantly, I have my name on the deed, not as co-owner. As sole owner. I place the document on the coffee table. You signed over your half to my company 3 years ago when Nolan needed capital for his failing restaurant venture. Father finally looks up, confusion battling with dawning comprehension. You're welcome to contest it, I continue, my voice gaining strength with each word. But the paperwork is quite thorough. Jenna made sure of that. Jenna? My Jenna Morales? Mother's voice rises an octave. Our family attorney? My attorney now, I correct her. For the past 5 years. 15 minutes later, walking back to my car, hands trembling but steps steady, I wonder if I should immediately cut all financial ties or gradually withdraw support to give them time to adjust. The swift justice of immediate action tempts me, but would that make me as callous as they had been? What would you do when you discover the people who should love you have only been using you all along? I start the engine, the quiet purr somehow steadying my racing heart. For the first time since receiving that beautiful, lying invitation, I feel something close to peace. Perhaps the most important wedding wasn't Nolan's after all, but my own marrying the woman I am to the woman I've always been capable of becoming. That same day, my phone buzzed for the 5th time in an hour. Another cousin I haven't spoken to since last Thanksgiving, suddenly concerned about my mental health. Mother's been busy. Elise, honey, we're worried about you. Uncle Robert's voice crackles through the speaker. Your mother says you've been making some wild accusations. I press my fingertips against my temple. Did she mention that they sent me a fake wedding invitation with the wrong date? The pause tells me everything. Well, there must be some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Uncle Robert. They didn't want me there, so they made sure I wouldn't be. After hanging up, I open my laptop to find Nolan has posted wedding photos online. Surrounded by everyone who matters, reads the caption beneath an image of our beaming parents flanking the happy couple. The absence I'd never noticed in family photos before now screams at me. The final blow arrives in today's mail. A formal letter on Dad's business stationery demanding the return of the lake cottage to its rightful owners. As if I'd stolen rather than saved it. Night after night, I lie awake, Photographs spread across my bedspread. The smiling faces look back at me, mocking my naivety. Had I imagined the happy moments? Created false memories of connection where there was only tolerance? The weight of loneliness presses against my chest, heavier now without the pretense of family bonds. During a weak moment at 3 a.m, I reach for my phone, thumb hovering over mother's number. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe one apology could restore the peace. But whose peace? Certainly not mine. Instead, I open my laptop and begin documenting. Every check written for Nolan's business failures. Every transfer covering the cottage property taxes. Every loan that was never repaid. The spreadsheet grows, each entry a brick in the wall I'm finally building between us. Tuesday afternoon, a knock on my office door breaks my concentration. Aunt Maxine stands there holding 2 paper bags from my favorite deli. "Thought you might be skipping lunch," she says, placing a sandwich on my desk. She rests her hand on my shoulder, her turquoise rings catching the light. "I'm proud of you for standing up. It's about time someone in this family had courage." The simple touch nearly undoes me. My assistant's voice comes through the intercom before I can respond. "Miss Hartman, your parents are in the lobby. They don't have an appointment." Aunt Maxine squeezes my shoulder. "Would you like me to stay?" I straighten my spine. "Number, I need to handle this myself." When they enter, Mother immediately produces tears, mascara perfectly intact despite them. "How could you abandon your family? We've always been there for you." Father stands rigid beside her. "The cottage has been in our family for generations. You have no right." They remain standing while I stay seated behind my desk, no longer jumping to attention when they enter a room. "That cottage hasn't been in our family for years." I say, voice steadier than I expected. "You sold your half to my company when you needed money for Nolan's failed business venture." Mother's tears evaporate. "We did no such thing." I remove a document from my desk drawer. "Your signature is right here, Mother. April 2018, when Nolan's restaurant went under." Father steps forward. "We assumed once things turned around. You assumed I would give it back without mentioning the legal transfer? Or you assumed I would continue bankrolling the family while being excluded from it?" The words flow easier now. "I'm not your bank. I'm not your family's safety net. I'm done." For the first time in my life, my mother looks at me with something other than disappointment. Fear. I made myself clear. The intercom buzzes. "Miss Hartman, Jenna Morales is here for your 2 o'clock. Perfect timing. Jenna strides in, briefcase in hand, her authoritative presence filling the room. "Mr. and Mrs. Hartman, I believe our meeting was concluded." She gestures toward the door with practiced professionalism. "This is family business." Mother hisses. "Which is why Miss Morales, my attorney, is handling it." I reply. "All further communication will go through her office." The contrast is striking. Jenna's respectful Miss Hartman against my mother's dismissive glare. As Jenna escorts them out, Father looks back once, confusion replacing his usual certainty. When they're gone, Jenna returns with documents. "Ready to make this official?" With each paper I sign, my voice grows stronger, my signature more confident. The legal notice giving them 30 days to vacate the cottage feels like signing a Declaration of Independence. "Your mother's signature on this sale document is ironclad," Jenna says, sorting the paperwork into her briefcase. "They don't have a legal leg to stand on." As I sign the final document, my phone lights up with Nolan's name, the first time he's called in years. I watch it ring, no longer jumping at his summons. Some calls don't deserve to be answered. Next day, the documents spread across Thomas Bedford's polished mahogany desk like battle plans. I sign each one with deliberate strokes, my signature growing more confident with each page. Joint accounts closed. Co-signed loans transferred. Investment portfolios separated. Thomas checks items off his list, his voice carrying the measured cadence of a man who's witnessed family fortunes crumble before. Perfect timing, too. According to their schedule, your parents should be halfway through their country club luncheon right about now. I glance at my watch, 12:37. Mother will be ordering her second gin and tonic, Father nodding politely at whatever retired executive has cornered him. The predictability of their routine has become my strategic advantage. "What about the restraining order?" I ask, sliding the last form across the desk. Thomas adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses. "Judge Harriman will review it this afternoon. The documentation is thorough. Workplace harassment has clear precedent. I think of my parents' unannounced visits, the scenes in the lobby, the whispers among colleagues. My fingers curl into a fist beneath the desk. I've seen families destroy people, Elise. Thomas closes his leather portfolio with a decisive snap. You're making the right choice. The certainty in his voice steadies something inside me that's been trembling for days. When my phone vibrates, I expect Aunt Maxine's name. Instead, the building security number flashes on the screen. Miss Hartman? There's a situation in the lobby. Your brother is demanding to see you. Thomas notices my expression and points to the speakerphone button. I press it. Is he creating a disturbance? I ask, my voice surprisingly calm. Yes, ma'am. Security protocol requires documentation of the incident. He's quite insistent about financial matters. Thomas scribbles a note and slides it toward me. This strengthens the restraining order case. I'm not coming down, I tell the security officer. Please follow standard protocols for unauthorized visitors. 15 minutes later, my phone rings again. An unfamiliar number. Elise? It's Kendra, Nolan's wife. Her voice wavers. I'm outside your building. I close my eyes, bracing for another attack. I saw everything, she continues. The way he acted in your lobby. I had no idea he could be like that. Through the window, I spot her standing near the fountain, phone pressed to her ear, shoulders hunched against the spring breeze. He told me you refused to help with the wedding, that you were jealous of our happiness. Her voice cracks. But that wasn't true, was it? You never even knew when it was happening. The admission hangs between us. I'm sorry, she whispers. I should have questioned why you weren't there. I watch her brush hair from her face, the diamond on her ring finger catching sunlight. 3 weeks married and already discovering the person behind the performance. Thomas discreetly steps out, giving me privacy. When the door closes, I finally speak. Why are you telling me this? Because I recognize the look on his face today. It's the same one my father had when he threatened my mother. I'm not waiting 30 years to admit what I'm seeing. When Kendra reached out, I wondered if I should maintain the wall I'd built around myself or allow this one small bridge to remain. Could someone so closely tied to my pain become an ally, or was this another trap I couldn't yet see? Aunt Maxine arrives at my office later that afternoon, carrying a worn leather briefcase I've never seen before. I've been keeping these for years, she says, laying out folders containing printouts of emails, text messages, and financial records dating back a decade. Your mother never believed in deleting anything. Thought she might need leverage someday. I flip through pages of correspondence revealing a systematic pattern of emotional and financial exploitation. Need money for Nolan's business venture. Elise won't mind co-signing. Tell Elise the cottage repairs are minimal. No need to mention the foundation issues. She's coming for Thanksgiving. Hide the new boat until after she leaves. Each message lands like a physical blow. Jenna, my lawyer, arrives as I'm midway through the second folder that day. She scans several key documents, her expression hardening. This strengthens our position on the cottage ownership considerably, she says, selecting specific emails for her files. The judge will see a clear pattern here. Thomas returns with confirmation that additional security measures have been implemented on my accounts. They won't be able to access anything, even with the information they have about you. The following morning, Jenna calls with news that makes me sit down abruptly in my kitchen. Judge granted the restraining order. His exact words were, clear pattern of emotional and financial harassment. They can't come within 500 feet of your workplace or residence. That afternoon, Aunt Maxine calls. Your cousin Rebecca canceled her bridge game with your mother. Said she couldn't look her in the eye after what she did to you. One by one, the dominoes begin to fall. Uncle Stephen removes them from the holiday rotation. Grandmother's oldest friend refuses their dinner invitation. Nolan's drinking increases as rumors circulate about Kendra moving back to her parents' house. His financial stability leaves with her. When the formal eviction notice for the cottage arrives at my parents' house, reality finally sinks in. The consequences they never imagined possible have come due. I run my finger over the embossed letterhead of my holding company, the same company that purchased the cottage 3 years ago when they could no longer afford the taxes. The cottage they still believe is theirs. The truth has a way of revealing itself, one document at a time. A week later, on Wednesday, the familiar gleam of morning sunlight across the polished granite lobby of my office building feels different today. I've walked through these doors hundreds of times, but never quite like this, with security guards Stan and Miguel exchanging knowing glances as my parents enter behind Pastor Williams, their expressions a careful study in contrition. Mother's camel hair coat hangs slightly askew on her shoulders, her normally perfect hair showing telltale strands out of place. Father stands with unusual deference, his shoulders hunched forward in a posture I've never witnessed before. The family pastor walks between them, Bible clutched to his chest like a shield. Elise. Pastor Williams extends his hand, his voice carrying that practiced tone of gentle authority he uses for hospital visits and funeral services. Your parents thought it might help to have someone neutral present for this conversation. I don't take his hand. There's nothing neutral about someone who's been at our Christmas dinner table for 20 years, Pastor. Mother steps forward, her voice wavering. We've been praying about this situation, Elise. About your behavior lately. My behavior? The words escape as a quiet laugh that surprises even me. The cottage has been in our family for generations. Father finally speaks, his usual commanding tone replaced with something resembling humility. Your grandfather built it with his own hands. Pastor Williams places a gentle hand on my arm. Forgiveness is divine, Elise. They're still your parents. There are bonds that transcend disagreements. Disagreements? I repeat, feeling heat rise in my neck. Is that what we're calling deliberate cruelty now? Think about what people at church will say, Mother whispers, glancing around the lobby as if congregation members might materialize beside the potted ferns. Families shouldn't air their difficulties in public. The Thornton girl just went through something similar with her parents. Everyone's talking. I straighten my spine, feeling a strange lightness spread through my chest. I've been promoted to creative strategy director, Pastor. Did they mention that when they asked you to come? Or that my team just landed the Richardson account? The pastor blinks, clearly thrown off script. That's wonderful news, Elise. Congratulations. I reach into my leather portfolio and remove 2 envelopes, placing them side by side on the reception desk. This is the invitation to Nolan's wedding I received. And this is the real one Aunt Maxine showed me afterward. Pastor Williams peers at them, confusion creasing his forehead as he notes the different dates. They sent me the wrong date on purpose so I wouldn't attend my own brother's wedding. My voice remains steady, a revelation in itself. This wasn't a misunderstanding or an oversight. It was deliberate exclusion. Sometimes families make difficult choices to maintain peace. Pastor Williams begins, but I cut him off. I've spent my life forgiving, Pastor. I've turned the other cheek so many times I've been spinning in circles. Now I'm spending it living. I lock eyes with him directly. Did they tell you about the lake cottage? How I've been making the payments for 8 years while they pretended it was still theirs? Or how they've needed financial assistance every time Nolan starts a new business venture? Or perhaps they mentioned how they forgot to invite me to Thanksgiving dinner 3 years running but remembered to call when they needed their roof replaced. The pastor's expression shifts, the certainty in his eyes wavering as he glances between my parents. Elise, after all we've sacrificed for you. Mother interjects, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. I turn to face her fully, standing taller than I ever have in their presence. Name one sacrifice you've made for me that wasn't actually for Nolan. The silence stretches between us, becoming their answer. I pick up a manila envelope from the reception desk and hand it to my father. These are all the family photos I kept. The ones where you cropped me halfway out or where I'm standing slightly apart. I've been holding on to them thinking someday I'd feel like I belonged in those frames. Father takes it automatically, his fingers trembling slightly. I'm releasing myself from the obligation of being your daughter. I say, the words bringing an unexpected rush of oxygen into my lungs. You're free from having to pretend I matter to you. You can't just stop being family, Mother says, her voice rising. After all, we've sacrificed for you. You already said that. I hold her gaze, still waiting for an example. Stan steps forward from his security desk, his presence a quiet reminder that this confrontation has an audience. Everything all right here, Miss Hartman? Yes, Stan. My visitors were just leaving. This isn't over, Elise, Father says, clutching the envelope of photos. Actually, it island. I turn toward the elevator banks. Stan will show you out. I don't look back as the elevator doors close behind me, cutting off the sound of my mother's protests. The sensation of lightness continues spreading through my chest, replacing the familiar weight I've carried for decades. 2 weeks later, the news reaches me through Aunt Maxine. Nolan has lost his job. his marriage already showing cracks under financial pressure. I feel nothing but a distant pity, like observing strangers through a rain-streaked window. The first letter arrives at my office the following Tuesday. The envelope bears my father's distinctive handwriting, precise capitals with flourished edges. I place it on my desk beside my coffee, studying it as steam rises between us. My finger traces the edge of the seal, not yet breaking it. Inside might be more manipulation, more guilt, more demands disguised as family obligation, or perhaps something else entirely. I haven't decided whether to open it yet, and that choice, I realize, is the most valuable thing I've gained. A year later, the morning sun streams through the floor to ceiling windows of my lake house office, casting golden patterns across the hardwood floor. My photographs line the walls, landscapes I captured during weekend trips when I stopped waiting for invitations that never came. No family portraits here, just moments that belong solely to me. My phone rings, and for the first time in years, my shoulders don't tense at the sound. Elise Hartman, I answer, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I arrange presentation notes. It's a potential client interested in my boutique marketing approach. As I explain my philosophy about authentic brand storytelling, I notice the wall calendar behind my desk. Where family obligations once dominated birthdays, I celebrated alone. Holidays where I arrived bearing gifts and left bearing wounds, now personal milestones stretch across the months. Half marathon in August. Photography workshop in September. A week in Montana just because I've always wanted to see big sky country. When the call ends, I lean back in my chair and breathe. The cottage that once symbolized my family's hold over me has become my sanctuary. The mail arrives with its usual shuffle through the brass slot. Among the business correspondence sits a thick cream envelope, my name written in flowing calligraphy. My heart stutters momentarily before steadying. Another wedding invitation, my cousin Rachel this time. I run my finger along the embossed edge, remembering how a similar envelope once carried such bitter disappointment. The date looks correct. The RSVP card includes a handwritten note. It wouldn't be the same without you, Elise. Please come. For a moment, I consider what's expected, what the old Elise would have done. Drop everything. Find the perfect gift. Prepare answers to intrusive questions about my single status and childless life. Instead, I check my calendar. The wedding falls during my photography retreat in Maine. I select a response card from my desk drawer and write a genuine note explaining my absence and wishing them joy. I'll send a thoughtfully selected gift, not to earn approval, but because giving brings me pleasure when it's freely chosen. That evening, Aunt Maxine arrives first for our dinner, bringing her famous apple crumble. Thomas appears with a bottle of wine he's been saving for a special occasion. Jenna rushes in last, apologizing for court running late, her laugh filling my kitchen. 1 year, Thomas says, raising his glass once we're seated around my dining table. 1 year of boundaries that would make a fortress envious. To finding family and friendship, Aunt Maxine adds, her eyes crinkling at the corners, and strength in starting over. We clink glasses as laughter bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me, rusty but genuine. Later, after they've gone, I sit at my desk and open my father's latest letter. Unlike his early correspondence filled with guilt and demands, this one acknowledges harm without seeking absolution. I failed you, he writes simply. You deserved better. I place the letter in a wooden box with the others, not displayed proudly, nor destroyed in anger. Just acknowledged as part of a story I no longer need to rewrite. Beside me sits a brochure for a mentoring program helping young women navigate early career challenges. My travel itinerary for Portugal, a solo journey I've dreamed about since college, rests beneath it. Both represent futures built on my terms. As I close the box of letters, I wonder if healing means reconciliation or simply peace with the past. Is family defined by blood, or by those who treat your heart with care? Some bridges burn for a reason, while others can be rebuilt stronger than before. What would you choose? The comfort of what's familiar or the promise of what could be?